We're back with You Asked For It. Oh yes you did. Oh yes you did. Welcome back to You Asked For It. And today's social media question is coming from Facebook again, from Dana. Got to put my glasses on. You know, I'm getting old. Need my reading glasses now. So Dana, she commented, "Why does my dog bark and charge at every single person who walks by my house, and how do I stop it? He's not allowed in the front yard anymore because of it. He won't bare his teeth or bite, just runs barking at them. But if they say boo, he tucks his tail and runs straight to me. He's not a mean dog, just nervous around strangers. If they kneel down on his level, he starts to relax. It's scary as heck to those who don't know him. I don't want this to escalate." Well, thank you, Dana, for your inquiry. So this is one of those things where it is challenging to talk about it just on a video without actually knowing the dog, because what one person perceives as, you know, he doesn't have any malicious intent or, you know, anything like that, but she obviously has a concern that she doesn't want it to escalate. So without knowing the dog, it's hard to decipher what his past behavior and conditioning was. But it does sound like from this is that the dog was allowed to engage in this behavior for a while with a lot of repetition. And what happens when people walk by your house, right? They keep walking, right? If there's a passerby just walking down the street, they just keep walking. And if there's a dog charging at them, they're probably going to walk a little faster. And this is a pretty good case for, and I mentioned in one of my other videos when I talk about how dogs learn, successful behaviors versus unsuccessful. This is a prime example of a dog exhibiting and perpetuating a successful behavior. And remember, when I say successful behavior, meaning the success of the behavior is defined by the dog, not us. You know, in this case, it's a behavioral problem because we don't want anyone to get hurt. We certainly don't want the dog to get hurt or the dog to get out of the yard and stuff. So, you know, it's a tough one without knowing the dog. But I can tell you this, in all likelihood, there was probably a lot of repetition behind this. And with repetition comes reliability. I mean, just think about how a dog learns to sit, right? As soon as that butt hits the floor, right? Good girl, good boy, right? And the more repetition we do, the more likely the dog is to sit on command, and the more likely that behavior will perpetuate, and the stronger that behavior will be. Well, that just doesn't hold true for obedience. It holds true for behavior overall. If this dog was charging at the fence for any period of time with enough repetition, in the dog's mind, and you know, I'll post a picture of the dog. He kind of looks like he's mixed with a little bit of herding dog. So, you know, herding dogs, they tend to be a little territorial anyway, and they could have a little protective nature to them. So, you know, it could be some of that to it as well. But at the end of the day, the repetition of the dog's behavior created reliability. And you know, for Dana or anyone else who's experiencing this, counter conditioning comes in, right? So how do we counter condition this dog's behavior? Well, first and foremost, we have to create opportunity. And when dogs react or overreact this way, you know, what do owners do? I mean, Dana mentioned he's not allowed in the front yard anymore. He's secluded to the backyard now. So when dog owners experience these things, they restrict access to the area that is causing the problem. Now, granted, that's a good management tool, right? It's effective environmental management. You're eliminating or restricting the dog from access. But if you really want to modify the behavior, you have to create opportunities. So whatever the dog was doing out front, charging at people, we need to counter condition that. Now, in Dana's case, the good news is that the dog seems to be friendly, so she can easily put him on leash, and she's going to have to work him out front, and she's going to have to engage passersby. You know, if the dog starts to exhibit, and I'm not going to talk about corrections. I don't like to talk about corrections, especially with dogs I don't know. I don't want, anything backfiring on the owner. So we'll take the conservative approach, if you will. So the first thing Dana needs to do is she needs to do a lot of obedience out front when there's no passersby, there's no people present, right? She needs to increase the dog's obedience and reliability in the front of the house on leash, and she needs to I mean, the repetition, it's like my socialization video that I posted, that when you think you socialized enough, go to one more place. Same thing with improving reliability and distractions. When you think your dog is fully reliable, do another 5 sessions just to make sure, right? And with this obedience out front with no distractions, she's creating more reliability. She's creating more focus with the dog onto her. So now she needs to start adding the stimulation or the triggers, in this case, people, passersby. And this is where she can engage the help of people that she knows. It doesn't necessarily have to be a stranger. They walk by. If the dog starts to exhibit, obviously she would want to start working the dog. In fact, she should probably work the dog proactively once she sees people in sight. Once the people start walking, if the dog starts to shift a little, she gets the dog working, asks the passerby to stop, right? The previous behavior, people would walk by, the dog would charge and bark, people would continue to walk, right? I call it Foofy Dog Syndrome. The little white fluffy dog in the big bay window, right? The mail carrier comes up to drop off mail, the little white dog goes crazy in the window, and the mail carrier walks away, right? The mail carrier is just delivering mail, not the dog's mind. The dog's mind is, the dog is thinking, and stay away, right? That's what the dog is experiencing, right? Mail carrier presents, dog barks and charges the window, drives the mail carrier away. And the mail carrier is just going on to the next stop to drop off mail. Dog doesn't think that way. Same concept here. We have to basically do the opposite of what was happening previously. And that's how counter conditioning starts. And again, without knowing the dog, the history of the dog, and the environment of the dog, and the level of training the dog has had, it's hard to get specific. But this is a good way to start. This is where, and everybody knows, I mean, I don't shy away from correction. I use training tools if I have to. But this is a good opportunity to implement some positive reinforcement proactively to get the dog accustomed to working in the environment where this quote-unquote bad behavior has existed. Right? So we're already changing the environment by changing the culture of how we and the dog live in that environment, meaning the front of the house. And that's kind of the first step. And then you work through it, a lot of repetition, and then, as you add more passersby, guinea pigs, then obviously you have to put it to the test. We call that proofing. When you're working and working and working on behavior modification, now you have to proof it in a real life situation. And the only way to do that is with an unsuspecting passerby who doesn't know what you're doing. And you have to work through it, right? So I hope this helps. Again, it's hard to give specific information when I'm just getting bits and pieces off social media, but I do appreciate it. I hope this helps a little bit, kind of get you on your way, Dana, and anyone else who's experiencing this. And this is a good segment for posting questions, and I provide my answers. So if you have any questions or topics you want me to cover, drop them in the comment below. You could also hit me up on social media. My social media links down there as well. I also referenced a couple of videos. I'll make sure that I reference those down below as well. So I think that's about it, and I will see you next time on You Asked For It.